Hi, I'm Emma Kemp, design team member for Jamie Rodgers Crafts, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I made this white on white shadow box frame using dies from Jamie's new May 2025 release. So to begin, I've taken some of Jamie's Polar White Elite card. I've cut two pieces measuring 11 by 5 inches, 2 at 11 by 2, 2 at 5 by 2, 1 at 3 1/4 by 3 3/4, and 1 at 3-inch square. Next, I'm coming in with the new Button Blooms die, cutting it in the 3 sizes shown. Then this branch from the Lavish Foliage die set, and its matching branch from the new Mirrored Lavish Foliage set. And finally, 2 of the dragonflies from the new Elegant Dragonflies die set. And for now, I'll just be setting these aside. Along the 2-inch side, I'm scoring at 1/4 inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1 1/4 inch and 1 3/4 of an inch, and I do that for both of these pieces plus both of the 5 by 2 pieces as well, exactly the same measurements. On this longer piece I'm scoring also at 1/2 inch just down to that second horizontal score line, and I do the same on the other side. So at 10.5 inches I just come in, so there's a 1/2 inch score line on either side. This is a 5 by 2 piece, so I'm just repeating those same scores again for both pieces. But I'm not going to score down to the second line on these. For this piece, along the longer side, I'm just scoring at 3/4 of an inch. And for this piece, I'm scoring at 1/4 of an inch, 1 1/2 inches and 2 3/4 inches. I'm then just burnishing all of my lines, and they all fold in the same direction except this piece, where the middle piece folds in the opposite direction to the other 2 folds, as you can see. Taking the longer pieces with those small 1/2 inch score lines at the side, we're just going to snip along the score line down to that second line and then cut up diagonally, as you can see, and we do that with both pieces. So you should end up with tubular looking frame pieces like this that are each 1/2 inch wide. Next, I'm going to lightly pencil in the 1/2 inch frame around the aperture frame piece. You can skip this step if you want, but this is going to help me position my aperture windows. I'm also going to mark my center point to help me position my middle aperture first, and then I will line the pieces up either side of that. I'm using a ruler with a center point. If you don't have one of these, then at the time I filmed this, Jamie does sell a similar one on the Craftmania website. If you purchase several of the new Patchwork collection die sets, this shows you an additional use for the middle square in each set. It's far easier to position all the aperture windows at once rather than trying to line them up one at a time after each cut. This piece was actually too long to fit in my cutting plate, so I'm showing here how I simply ran one side through first and then turned it round and popped the other side through to cut them all. So here I'm just removing those pieces and then I'm erasing those pencil lines. Next, I'm going to take the backing piece and I'm just going to be sticking my aperture piece to the base completely. But if you wanted to insert photos into each window, make sure you do not glue along the top. I'd also space your windows further apart. I'm just coming in with Jamie's clear drying glue here and then sticking the aperture to that backing panel. Now to construct the frame, I'm going to run the glue along the top edge of the frame and taking the 1/4 inch fold of the untrimmed side of the 11 by 2 inch piece, I'm sticking this flush with the top edge. Once secure, I'm then running a line of glue just below where the last fold is stuck, and then I'm taking the shorter edge and securing that as shown. I wipe the edges of glue away as I did not need to run it along the full length, and I then repeat the steps for the opposite frame. I end up doing exactly the same thing again and running the glue too far and having to wipe it away again. You'll see that here. And then I'm just going to stick that down as I did on the other side. These side pieces can be a bit fiddly, so I'm going to show you 2 different ways of sticking these. For the first one, you add glue to one of the 1/4 inch flaps as shown, and then as you pop it in here, you want to line up that first score line, which I'm showing here. Make sure that lines up along the edge of your frame, and you can use your aperture windows as a guide as well to make sure things are straight. You then want to glue along the edge here as shown, and you want to then just tuck that other 1/4 inch flap in. This can be really tricky, and actually I made the mistake here of trying to do it while it was constructed, rather than flattening it down, which is what I could have done. I could have flattened it down and it would have pressed and ensured both sides were stuck. I'm then adding some glue just to the corners to make sure those side pieces are thoroughly secured to each of the top and bottom pieces. On the other side, I'm doing it slightly differently. So I'm adding some glue to that 1/4 inch flap there. And this time I am lining up the first score line, but it's on the smaller flap. So again, we want to make sure that lines up just with the edge of the frame. I'm then adding glue to the other 1/4 inch flap. And this side was much easier because, as you can see, I flattened it and I could just press that down and actually ensure both pieces were secure. You can see it lined up well with the aperture. Again, I'm just gluing each corner to make sure that that is secure. And because Jamie's glue does allow some wiggle room, I do just make sure that I hold it in place for a second there while it sticks. And that's it. So that's the frame done. Now turning over to the back, I'm taking my ruler and just marking a centre line, gluing the stand there, and I'm eyeballing it, just kind of going by that centre line, making sure the bottom is flush. That's my back stand. This is the part that secures it to make sure that it doesn't become weak over time. Just adding some glue to each of those flaps. It's not quite as wide as the stand so that it's hidden underneath. Again, just making sure those edges are flush on both sides. And there you go. You have your stand. Moving on, I'm now going to take some of Jamie's metallic wax in Snow White, and I'm taking a tiny piece. That's all you need. A small amount goes quite a long way. I'm also dampening my sponge dauber, which I like to do when working with waxes, as I find it stretches them a little further, but this is not necessary with Jamie's waxes. They have a really lovely smooth consistency. So I'm filming this with my phone camera, so when I try to bring this up close shortly to show you the shimmer, it's not great. It might show slightly on the flowers. It doesn't show so much on the dragonflies. It's quite difficult to see, but this effect of white wax on white card, it just gives the most subtle, beautiful shimmer, almost like you get with pearlescent card, which is really all I want for these pieces. So here I am just coming in with the dragonfly, the actual cutout pieces, and adding the white wax over the top. And you can see there I'm trying to show the shimmer, but it doesn't show great. So now I'm just joining these up, and I do this for both of the dragonflies. And then I'm just shaping the petals. I've just got a piece of foam here and a shaping tool. The shaping tool helps soften the fibres so that when you're adding little folds and creases, the creases aren't so harsh. So it does help. I'm just putting together my flower petals there, and I'm adding an iridescent pearl in the middle. And then for the dragonflies, I'm just adding some iridescent gemstones down the body. And again, I do this for both of them. I'm shaping the wings. You can do this with anything you've got to hand, a pencil, a pen. Again, I'm trying to show that shimmer, but I don't think I'm capturing it. And here we are. I'm just constructing the final pieces now, adding the glue, and I mirror this on both sides. So this is the great thing about having the mirrored lavish foliage. And here is the finished piece. You can, of course, have made this into a card instead of a frame by just adding the top folding card base to the back instead of the stand. If you found any aspect of this video helpful, please pop a like and follow Jamie Rodgers Crafts. Subscribe on YouTube to be up to date with all our upcoming content, and thank you for watching.